Hi friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I could share my June TBR with you. I have quite a stack here and there's pretty much reasons for all of these, but let's go ahead and go through the books that I'm hoping to read, and then you'll have to let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought down in the comment section. All right, so let me organize my stacks a little bit. Okay, first up on our stack is the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is actually the prequel to the original trilogy. It has now become a quartet, and over on my Patreon we've been doing a read along of the original trilogy, and we're going to finish out with reading this one. I chose to read them in publication order rather than like timeline order, but I'm really excited because I have read the original trilogy before, but I've never read this one. I haven't seen the movie. I've been avoiding the movie so I could read the book first and then watch the movie. But this one says, ambition will fuel him, competition will drive him, but power has a price. It's the morning of the reaping that will kick off the 10th annual Hunger Games. In the capital, 18-year-old Cornelius Snow is preparing for his one shot at glory as a mentor in the games. The once mighty House of Snow has fallen on hard times, its fate hanging on the slender chance that Cornelius will be able to outcharm, outwit, and outmaneuver his fellow students to mentor the winning tribute. That's all I want to know. I've heard amazing things about the movie. I absolutely love this franchise, and I'm just really hoping that I enjoy this one. But I will be reading it and discussing it in June over in my Patreon. If you want to hear any of my thoughts or join the discussion or read along with us, the link for my Patreon is always in the description box. Also mentioning my Patreon, I have a book club that is, you can join my book club, the Night Owl Book Club, if you join at the $7 tier. In June, we will be reading The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton. I have never read anything by this author before, but I have heard good things about specifically the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. But this one just really stood out. It's one of my most anticipated of the year, based solely on the synopsis of the book. I did put 4 books up for vote and my patrons voted on this one. We will be having the discussion at the end of the month on June 30th. So if you want to join my Patreon at the $7 tier and join the book club and read this with us this month, again, the link is in the description box. I got my copy from Amazon with the teal sprayed edges and it has the black map. I know Barnes & Noble has like a coral orange sprayed pages with like an orange corally colored map. And then I'm sure there's other versions out there. I've seen like pink sprayed edges with like birds on the side and stuff like that. So there's definitely some beautiful editions out there. And even if you don't join my book club, I definitely think you should check out this book. I mean, the cover is so pretty. It says, outside the island, there is nothing. The world was destroyed by a fog that swept the planet, killing anyone it touched. On the island, it is idyllic. 122 villagers and 3 scientists, living in peaceful harmony. The villagers are content to fish, farm, and feast, to obey their nightly curfew, to do what they're told by the scientist. Until, to the horror of the islanders, one of their beloved scientists is found brutally stabbed to death. And then they learn that the murder has triggered a lowering of the security system around the island, the only thing that was keeping the fog at bay. If the murder isn't solved within 107 hours, the fog will smother the island and everyone on it. But the security system has also wiped everyone's memories of what happened the night before, which means that someone on the island is a murderer and they don't even know it. So I am very excited to read and discuss this with my patrons in June. And yeah, you can definitely join along if you wish to do so. For the Sleep When I'm Dead book club, which is hosted by my best friend Jessie from Reading with Jess, they will be reading Everyone is Watching by Heather Gudenkopf. And I've never read a book by Heather Gudenkopf before, but I'm looking forward to this one. It's also kind of short, right? Yeah, it's like 309 pages, and it's also like a short little book. Like, here's the hardcover and here's this. So it's a short little book. From the New York Times bestselling author of The Overnight Guest comes a twisty locked room thriller about a mysterious high-stakes game that proves life-threatening. And also, Jessie does have a Discord channel set up for her book club, Sleep When I'm Dead, and she has chapter breakdowns. So as you're reading, you can update your thoughts in the different chapters, and then you can also see what other book club members are thinking along the way as well. So I think that's super fun, and I can't wait to read this one. Next up, for my in-person book club, we voted on The Rachel Incident by Caroline O'Donoghue. This is a literary fiction novel, a brilliantly funny novel about friends, lovers, Ireland in chaos, and a young woman desperately trying to manage all three. I absolutely love having an in-person book club. I've looked for one for a while. I've definitely found my home with these ladies, and I can't wait to read another book with them and discuss it at the end of the month. Couple more books here for my podcast. I have several books that I would like to read for various upcoming episodes. In August, Keisha and I will be sitting down to chat about Sally Hepworth, doing an author spotlight of all of her books, the ones we've read, what we thought, the ones that we haven't read, if we plan to pick them up, and so forth. And on my TBR, I have The Younger Wife by Sally Hepworth to read. I'm excited about this one. I've heard good things. I've had success with her other books, so I'm hoping I have success with this as well. I really don't want to know too much. I know Keisha has read this one, and I remember her, I think she was like, I don't know if it was just her wrap up where I heard her talk about this, or like she did a reading vlog or something, but I've definitely heard her talk about this, and yeah, I'm just really excited to read it and see what I think. Okay, so the next 4 books are definitely not going to be for everyone, but my friend Nikki and I want to do a dark romance erotica episode where we read some books that have those themes and topics in it and see what we think. I used to read more dark romance a few years ago, but I kind of got away from it, but now I'm going to be dipping my toes back in with these. First up on the stack is one that I hauled, My Dark Romeo by Parker S. Huntington and LJ Shin. Love this cover. Talked about it in my book haul. I can't wait to read this one, you guys. I've heard such good things about it too. Also, I have Hooked, a Never After novel by Emily McIntyre. I know this is the first book in a like longer series that kind of has these like, they're kind of like retellings a little bit. So like this one is like, guess. That's right. Peter Pan, Hooked, that whole thing. He wants revenge, but he wants her more. James has always had one agenda: destroy his enemy, Peter Michaels. When Peter's 20-year-old daughter Wendy shows up in James's bar, he sees his way in. Seduce the girl and use her for revenge. It's the perfect plan until things in James's organization begins to crumble. Suddenly he has to find a traitor in the midst, and his plan for revenge gets murkier as James starts to see Wendy as more than just a pawn in his game. That's all I want to read, but there's also Scarred and Wretched. There's a whole bunch of books in this series, but I'm going to try the first, see what I think, and then we'll see if I continue on in the series. Next up, I've heard this is really dark, and I know my friend Nikki that I'm doing the podcast episode with has already read this one, so I thought it would be interesting for me to read it and us compare our thoughts and feelings on it. So, Does It Hurt by H.D. Carlton. This has been like all over TikTok. Yeah, I kind of like that it's like set on the coast and stuff like that. There are like these lighthouse chapter header things, and then in between there's like these little sharks. I know it's dual POV, and I know it's really, really dark. That's all I really know. Yeah. I'm not making any promises, but the one that I'm probably the most excited about is the Mind series by St. Abby Stabby. This is a bind up of books 1 through 5, so the entire series. It says romance with a stabby twist. I actually got this from my friend April. It says, "Girl, I love you and I love this book. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did." We kind of did this for like one of the exchanges. So anyway, it says, "Monsters can come in many forms." And it's basically the love story of like a serial killer woman and the FBI agent who is trying to track that serial killer down, and they fall in love. I've heard the writing is not the best, but I've heard it's totally bingeable, and I'm thinking about making a dedicated reading vlog for this. Don't know if it will go up on YouTube or my Patreon, but I'm hoping to make a reading vlog of this one. I have 2 more books that I'm hoping to get to in June. Let's see, Chasing the Boogeyman by Richard Scheismar. This is a book I've had on my TBR for a while. I initially heard about this from Marcy Reads, but I've heard good things from other people as well. I'm going to the Riley Sager event at the end of the month, and Richard Scheismar is going to be there as well. And I like to read books by authors that I'm possibly going to meet, so I figured I needed to get this off of my TBR before that event. And then, oh, this one is a horror novel. I actually have a signed book plate already. I thought that was pretty cool. It says, "In the summer of 1988, the mutilated bodies of several missing girls begin to turn up in a small Maryland town. The grisly evidence leads police to the terrifying assumption that a serial killer is on the loose in the quiet suburb, and soon a rumor begins to spread that the evil stalking local teens is not entirely human. But law enforcement and members of the FBI are certain the killer is a living, breathing madman, and he's playing games with them. For a once peaceful community trapped in the depths of paranormal suspicion, it feels like a nightmare that will never end." So, hoping to read and enjoy this one. And then finally, I have Baby X by 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒌𝒔, which I still need to read. This is kind of like the only unread at this point Aardvark Book Club book that I had. I was going to read it in one of my Aardvark vlogs, but the audiobook does not come out until June. So I was like, okay, let me wait for the audiobook. I did read the first chapter of this. I am intrigued. So hoping to get to this one in June. So with that is my very lengthy June TBR. And since it's summer, I'm hoping I just have so much time to read. But I do have a lot going on in June, including prepping for a move. And I'm also doing this huge summer reading challenge in my Patreon, and I'm really excited about that. But yeah, anyway, that's all for today's video. If you made it this far in the video, leave a blue heart emoji in the comment section down below. And I hope you're having a lovely day or night. And I'll see you guys again in another video very soon. Bye, friends.